Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of The Fishing Teacher, and I really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to spend some of your day with me. And I want to have a comprehensive discussion, guys, on the three different types of fishing line today, which is braided line, fluorocarbon line, and monofilament fishing line. And I really want to dig into detail as far as when exactly you want to use each one of these type of lines, when you don't want to. I see a lot of people that use the wrong line in the wrong situation. And if you learn how to correctly choose the right type of fishing line, you're going to get more bites. You're going to lose far less fish. You're going to be able to cast better. You're going to be able to get better action on your lures, and you're just going to catch more fish all the way around. So we're going to get into that in today's episode. Also, guys, if I'm feeling like I look like I'm dragging a little bit today, I am. I've got a dang tooth infection or something, man. I don't know what it is. I think I've got one of my root canals went bad, and I've got a dentist appointment in a couple of days. But man, I have been, just struggling the last couple of days with this dang tooth pain. So if I look a little out of it, that's probably the reason why. I'm also, guys, for get started, a couple quick things here. Big thank you to everybody that's taken time to subscribe here to The Fishing Teacher or become a channel member of The Fishing Teacher. Thank you very much for everybody that's been using all my links I put in the description. If you guys have been, purchasing a lake map breakdown or using my tackle warehouse link in each video description to buy your tackle, a big thank you from me and my family. We really appreciate that. Okay, guys, we've touched upon this type of stuff before, but I really want to dive into this thing in sort of a deep way today, a deep detail with that, the three different types of fishing lines. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll go mono, fluorocarbon, and braid with that. Now, monofilament was basically all I used up until about probably 25 years ago when I started using, seaguar fluorocarbon line. That's when that, fluorocarbon line really started to take off strong about 25 years ago. But up until then, I just used monofilament line and, did fine with it, but we really didn't have anything to compare it to. So here is the reality behind fluorocarbon line or monofilament line that you need to realize before you institute it into your fishing. Number one, monofilament line is larger diameter than fluorocarbon line or braided line. It's got a lot more stretch than fluorocarbon or braided line. It's very stretchy. It's not quite as sensitive, and it is a little bit more difficult to cast simply because it is a large diameter, and also mono, it kinks up a little bit more than fluorocarbon or braid does. So those are the disadvantages of it. The advantages of it are the fact that it does stretch a little bit. The stretching part of it is an advantage or a disadvantage based upon how you want to fish. So let's say, for example, if you're flipping and pitching, you don't really want a lot of stretch in your line when you set the hook. So it's probably not the best line, even though I used it for years. But if say you're fishing a square bill crankbait, and you're making short casts with a square bill crankbait around lay down logs, sometimes you want monofilament line in a situation like that because of that line stretch. It gives you a little bit more hesitation. Also, monofilament line floats a lot better than braided line or fluorocarbon line. So braided line is a really good choice for topwater lures. So let's talk about when I use it. The only time I use monofilament line anymore, and this has been the case for quite a while now, is when I'm fishing topwater lures that sit stationary. So your lures like a popper, a walking topwater, something like that, a prop bait, chuggers, anything that you're working on the topwater where you have to pause it and let that bait set still for a little bit, you would definitely want to use monofilament line. If you use fluorocarbon line in a situation like that, the fluorocarbon line will sink and it'll make your bait, go nose heavy a little bit. I got a dang fly in here that I'm trying to get rid of. But so, definitely want to use fluorocarbon line for situations like that. I don't really like the braided line for topwaters. We'll talk about it here in a second. But overall, just to keep it simple, guys, use the fluorocarbon line or use the monofilament line for your topwater lures and really nothing else, with the exception of maybe some square bill crankbaits if you're making short casts in dirty water with it. Okay, fluorocarbon line, and also, guys, I'll link my seaguar fluorocarbon line and braided line link in the description. I use nothing but seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon. I think it's the best you can get, and the seaguar stealth braid. So you can get that in my tackle warehouse link in the description if you guys like to order some. Fluorocarbon line is the workhorse for me. it comprises probably, I'm going to guess, over 90% of my fishing. 10% of my fishing is a combo of braid and monofilament line. 90% is the fluorocarbon fishing line. Fluorocarbon fishing line, the big advantages of it, it's a lot more clear. It's harder for the fish to see in the water. It's a lower diameter, so you can use a smaller diameter line on lures to get more strikes, but you still maintain the break strength of being a higher break strength with a smaller diameter line. Again, it has less stretch, which can be an advantage in certain situations, and it's a lot more sensitive. It's like when you're working a jig or a shaky head on the bottom, fluorocarbon line has twice the sensitivity as monofilament line. So for most fishing applications, like all your jigs, soft plastic, Texas rigs, all your finesse baits that you use on the spinning rod, a lot of crankbaits, spinner baits, jerk baits, literally about any lure category out there with the exception of topwaters, I'm using with fluorocarbon fishing line. Let me give you one piece of advice, guys, also on the fluorocarbon fishing line, is if you're spooling your own line up, try to buy larger spools. Like, try to get the 1,000-yard spools, because if you get the smaller spools, like the 200-yard spools, that smaller spool, it puts a little bit more coil on your reels a little bit. But the larger spools that come with the 1,000-yard spools, the line comes off those larger spools better. And like I said, you can get them at that Tackle Warehouse link. They got 1,000, 600, whatever you want on there. But that's one piece of advice I'd give you. And finally, guys, braided line. Braided line is a very technique-specific type of a line. And if there's the biggest mistake I see a lot of people make when they choose fishing line, of course, here comes the train, guys, right on time during the video. I can hear it cranking up right now. The biggest mistake that a lot of people use with braided line is they use it in too many scenarios. I see people using braided line or braid to fluoro, which is terrible in my opinion, for crankbaits, spinner baits. They flip with it. They do everything with it. It's not made for that at all. The only time that I flip with braided line is if I'm flipping like a 1-ounce sinker into thick matted vegetation. Other than that, I'm always using fluorocarbon line. The time that I do use braided line is for when I need maximum power. So the maximum power about flipping that super heavy cover on a heavy weight, or like fishing a frog over matted vegetation. That's probably my number one use of braided line, is to fish like a buzz toad or frog over some type of vegetation, because again, you're reeling that thing a lot of times. You're not really making it stop, and they can't see it very good with the matted vegetation. I don't like braided line on just traditional topwaters like walking baits. A lot of people like it. I just don't like that braided line floating on the water above the lure. I think that it's too much of a strike detractor to the fish. But mainly, guys, it's any type of a surface lure that I'm running, reeling in. A buzz bait, a whopper plopper could work, a frog, buzz toad, something like that. Even though I don't use braided line on a buzz bait and a whopper plopper too much, most of the time if I'm fishing a whopper plopper and a buzz bait, I throw it on a flipping stick with 20-pound test line. So the workhorse thing for me in terms of braided line is the heavy duty, heavyweight flipping, or some type of frog fishing is about the only time I use it. And again, guys, I do not use braid to fluorocarbon. We've talked about this. I've well documented why I don't think it's a good idea. I either use straight fluorocarbon, straight braid, or straight monofilament line. So anyway, guys, that's just some overview of it. If you guys utilize some of those tips, guys, I think it'll go a long way into catching more fish and not losing as many fish and getting more bites. So hope it helps you guys out. We'll talk later.